Alrighty, a few things I want to point out. Now look at that lump of black stuff there. And that as well. Rightio. Okay, well that red thing you just seen there, that's basically a PCV hose that turned to shit. It pretty much, I had issues you might have seen with it, and it held on with zip ties and it was leaking fucking oil out of it. And so we took those off and put on some hose clamps. And as I was tightening the hose clamps up, honestly, the damn rubber, it had gone like gummy bears. Honestly, it was buggered. And so I went out and got some very high-end stuff from an engineering grade place. It really is only like the sort of pipe that goes from your PCV valve to fucking wherever, you know what I'm saying. And maybe slightly larger than most, probably not that larger than most. Half-inch internal diameter. And this place, well, they gave me stuff that's about twice as thick as it usually needs to be. And well, what do you need, sir? Well, I need sort of high temperature. Well, what temperature we're talking? Oh, well, rocker cover, so say 100 degrees. Oh, we've got something that goes 99 degrees. You know, like basically 100 degrees is boiling temperature for us. Okay, well, we've got something that's 99 degrees, and I said, and it's also got to be oil resistant. So I end up with this stuff that's made in the USA, that's oil resistant, fuel resistant, high temperature, and runs to 300 psi pressure, and also non-conductive. Yeah, okay, no shit, it's a rubber hose, but they decided to write that on as well. So I went absolutely overkill and got 2 new hose clamps as well, so that's no longer going to be an issue. Having said that, we found that one of the bolts in the top part of the intake manifold was not put on, and it's sort of like they done the bottom ones up all first and then went to do the top ones and one wouldn't fit. But it's got 2 of the 3 top ones, so it's going to have to be bloody good enough. We're almost going to tap a new hole out, and I wasn't too sure that the tap thread we had was the right size, and it was shockingly close to the spark plug lead, and oh god, it was a bit of a circus. And I was having to fight a power steering lead the whole fucking time. So anyway, and then we found, I drive along sometimes, hear this little ting ting ting. Interesting, little bracket that they've got with electrical leads on it, just hanging off the electrical leads. It's actually supposed to click onto your accelerator cable lead, and also a screw that goes in near the, or basically in the back of the manifold casing there. And there's another little groove, and another 2 holes with no bolts in it. And I know exactly what that's for, and that's for the cruise control. And this doesn't have cruise control, but a lot of the other ones of this era did have cruise control, including the Santa Fe's and all that, and most of the ones you see showing how to change the spark plugs with this have that cable. So I knew exactly what was meant to go there, and it basically, I've deducted that, yeah, that's the cruise control cable or something associated with the cruise control cable, because it seems to come right in beside, and this bracket had a little notch for the throttle cable and what I believe to be the cruise control cable, where the cruise control manipulates the throttle. So anyway, unfortunately this doesn't have cruise control, but I have found some other bizarre things with this device, and yeah, a few other bits and pieces on this thing before we really get rolling. And Yeah, that reservoir you saw there with that little black blob, that's supposed to be some epoxy bullshit to stop leaks, and guess what? The crack goes further than the epoxy. So the motherfucker basically spits all the water out. I mean, it doesn't spit it out, it literally drips it out. So the reservoir's fucked, so you pretty much just got to, keep it topped up, and it always seems to have just a trickle in the bottom, and it was like that when I first went to test drive it, and no doubt it was, I think it was like that when I drove it home, because I checked it all the next day, and lo and behold, yeah, guess what, really low. And then I've driven in more recently to really just to escape the heat, and I must admit this does have good air conditioning in it, quite good, but there's a little bit of a whine coming from the air conditioning. It's when you start up, sometimes it's bullshit. It's actually the air conditioning compressor, but it's got damn good air conditioning, but yeah, of course, I went in warm weather the other day and decided to spit out all the blooming coolant again, so we really need another reservoir before we then deal with the rest of the situations. The rest of the situations are, if I do a hard right-hand turn, I can hear a clonk clonk on the left side. I think it might be the universal joint that's involved in the front left drive shaft there, or something of that nature. It also takes a very small amount of power steering fluid, and I've had it and it's gone down, like it's got quite a reservoir for power steering fluid. That was that other little one I showed on the side there with the two lines, so it's just gone below minimum. But it's got quite a reservoir of it, more than you'd usually expect. And we have found, there's documents that come with all this, previously from all the, that's all the stuff from the back in the day, when it was new, Fleet Care. I've got a few of my other bits and pieces here. And this is a receipt from an old thing. Where are we here? Odd front tyres. There we go. Steering rack leaking. So yeah. So I think that's still needs doing. Because I got some things done, and it says there that some things were done, and they sort of not with other things, and then it showed what they actually did do, really, which is not a great deal at all. To put some engine oil in, oil filter. This is the person that had it previous to me. Cleaning fluid, whatever the hell that is. Door lube and washer additives. Oh, fuck me. They could have easily just bloody used a bit of. They used dishwashing liquid, some plug washer, fuel system cleaner. Fuck me, I used to be able to get that stuff for like $5. So anyway, yeah, I didn't want to spend big dollars on it before they sold it, but they just got a basic check over there, and I think that was like, about 3,000 miles before I've got it. So, it's more than that. It's about 7,000 miles, I think. So anyway, I changed the oil anyway. This one, I don't know, it's 15,000 k's oil change, but I'm doing about 10. Now, things you find, this stupid display will not work, but I can press the source button, and you notice it's got an iPod button. Anyway, and that goes off the aux in. So I can just change between radio and all that bullshit, and guess what? Haha. They had, this is my one I've had for a couple of years, but basically a car charger, and it was, I think it was sitting in here, and the bloody mechanics stole the bloody thing out of it, the pricks. Someone stole it out of it in between me putting down a deposit and picking it up. So anyway, I was a little bit annoyed, but it doesn't really matter, because you got the blooming the USB right up there. So, long and short of it is, that's actually for, like, what's his name? USB stick with music on it, but I just sort of go and drop it in, and and I charge the phone. So, but it'll try and turn it off radio because it expects you're putting a USB stick in, so then you've got to hit source a couple of times. But yeah, I was trying to work out, this might be a faceplate one, so maybe if I, like the old style ones, so maybe if I push the little release thing, which they used to have some little bit and bob around here, and then flick, it comes off, and I could wipe the contacts and click it back on, and maybe the screen to start working. So I think, what's this? Is this? Maybe that's a little release thing, and it, oh no, hang on. Now I've got a way of charging my phone. Unfortunately, yeah, you can use a cigarette lighter, but my knee keeps banging on it for the dash cam. So I've got the little miniature glove box, and it's sitting in down there, because you got the plug in there. So anyway, it's getting fairly hot in here anyway. Just sort of checking out the old the shitter there for height. I don't think I can fit that under the bed. And I put the fridge in there. You may notice there's a seat gone, and that's sitting right on the back seat there. You can see it fold up laying there. There's no way I am sleeping on a bed with the fridge, because the bloody fridge comes up friggin', it's taller than this. It's damn near up to the bottom of the plastic there. So, you know, and then mattress like this, I'll be fucking, my ass will be 4 inches above the bloody bottom of the window. Fuck that. But anyway, that's, yeah, that's not going to be happening. I'm going to have the fridge underneath the stove or something, and have, you know, of course, a bit of space, and may well even have a bit of silver paper to stop any heat. But really speaking, a lot of those stoves aren't hot underneath, they're only hot at the top. You know, and you've got a bit of a gap, and I'm, you know, probably going to put a bit of cement sheet, tile underlay, and then tiles, and then have the stove on that. But these are the most intriguing little things. You know, these have got nothing to do with the ignition, they're all hardwired in, and you can just turn the bloody things on any old time. All the time. No keys in it or anything. Now, unfortunately, my clock there has died in the arse, and that there is a switch for on, or off, door on. I can't get this to work, so I've got no lights when I open this damn thing up at night. I've got plenty of instrument panel light up. I've got all this bullshit here all lights up from behind, and no light when I open the door. So, you know, you can, on occasion, just sort of go, So it turns out we've got 4 of these little lights in the back, and 2 of them here. And I know they're map reading lights, but hey, better than nothing. Oh, yes. Man, it's starting to get a bit hot in here. I've also got one in the back on the tailgate, and that actually does work. Like as in the damn switch for it actually works. I couldn't bloody believe it. So the only door switch function in the damn thing is for the tailgate, and once I'm in this thing and I have all the bullshit shower mounted on the back here, there's probably no way that that I'm ever going to use that little jig. There it is there. Here you go, off, and that's the door on, and then that's the full on. Back to the door mode, but that works. But that's just basically based in the back here. So I've got a little handle there. That's for when you're trying to fake your kidnappings, so you can actually be inside the vehicle and pull the damn thing closed. No, I think it's for all the short people, all the Elvises of the world who, oh, and then they can, because they're too lame to get the edge, so they can, whatever, sort of weird. So that's the underside of the seat. I tell you what, she's a fucking heavy bitch of a seat. That thing would be, oh, it's not easy. It's over 30 pounds probably. It's somewhere around 30 pounds. It's freaking heavy. But yeah, and you can see, like, I've got a fair amount of room there from the edge of this one to the other seat there. Once we got all of these out, we'll have quite a bit of room, and I want to put lino in there. There's a lot of fucking potato chips and bits of fluff and everything down to the seat mount lugs there, but that toilet, I never wanted that under the bed, and it looks quite simply like as though it ain't going to be fitting under the bed either. But what I may have under the bed is a battery system, and that's what we're talking about now. Now, 120 watt, 12 volt, 120 watt, 12 volt, 240 watt. It's about 10 amps, isn't it? It's going to be slightly less when the vehicle's running, but I will say one thing. First of all, unfortunately, I don't have a second bung here. Secondarily, I can't believe that these three little fucking cables are supposed to hold basically, well, 20 amp, because 120 watt would be 10 amp and 10 amp. So you're supposed to have 20 amp coming through those little fucking yellow cables. I mean, look at the size of the damn things. There's nothing of the damn things, you know? Compare that to my index finger and my little finger. There's nothing of them. Having said that, instead of spending absolute fortune on a second battery system, which I really honestly don't think will even fit under the dash, under the hood, there's a few wires that are under that stupid plastic cover, sitting on top of the rocker cover, that really need a new sheath over them because it's going brittle, including some of the lines that run the injectors. So I might get him to redo that and put a 240 volt inverter somewhere into probably the passenger side, so that I can actually have an inverter running off the main starter battery. But as for all this, I can get a thing that's called a battery-to-battery charger. And all this business only fires up when you turn the key on. And so to have a second battery, it may quite simply be a case of having a battery-to-battery charger directly wired into this shit here. That's basically, it just goes, I don't know if you can see. Oh, there you go. Little plug, another little plug. It just goes straight from that onto plugs onto the back of these. And if I can cut into all that with a battery-to-battery charger, I might be fine. But it may be even simpler than that. It may be simply a case of having some sort of a current limiter, whether it's, I don't know, a resistor or some bullshit, and a couple of power diodes to stop it leaking back into the main starting battery. And this just turns on when you start the vehicle. So, yeah. You don't need no damn solenoid because, well, let's face it, there's probably one under the hood that's related to all this stuff that only turns this on when the engine's running, or when you've, you know, gone past accessories to the on point and all your electric windows and all that work. All this business here fires up. And if I'm allowed to draw damn near 20 amps or close to 20 amps out of that, I don't think there'd be anything wrong with trying to draw off of both of these a total of 8 amps to charge a deep cycle battery that has also got a solar charge controller and a solar panel that sits behind the front seat in a little fabric bag that I can then put on the dashboard during the day. And nobody had to drill any gnarly holes in anything and fuck anything up. And I have power. And you may say, oh, yeah, but your electric blanket's going to take, you know, 3.1 amps at night. Wow. Those heated seat cushions, you honestly can't run them on full without just about burning your ass off. So I don't think I'll be using 3.1 amps a night. And I know what you're saying. If I was using 3.1 amps continuously and you only have a short, you know, for 8 hours, 3.1 amps for 8 hours does not equal 8 amps for fucking half an hour. You know, I know that. So this is where I'm probably going to need solar as well, running into that second battery. But I just sort of thought, like, for all the bullshit and baloney of trying to get this guy to stick a second, fuck all this, you know? This thing's got a solenoid that turns it on and off already. It's built into the key. I know how to use power diodes. I'm not great on knowing how to restrict current, but I think I'll go to my electronics mate and he'll just fucking sketch something up in 5 minutes. It'll be a few components, a few bits and bobs to solder together, and that'll be it. I'll have a current draw restriction and power diodes to stop it feeding back into the starter battery. Not that it probably would anyway, because you're going to turn the key off, so that mightn't even be an issue. But having said that, I might be feeding other shit that's somehow on the same circuit. So, you know, other things that you can only turn on with the key, like the radio might suddenly decide it wants to start drawing power off of the bloody second battery because it's on the same circuit as all this or whatever. It only comes on when you turn the key on type thing, you know. So, yeah, that actually comes on with the accessories thing, but I think this needs your actual full switch right to on just before you start to come on. But anyway, that's something that I'll definitely be looking at, and I don't want to overdraw the current on it, so I'm likely not to just, you know, well, she'll be right, just wire it straight up. And although I know the battery might, you know, is unlikely to draw more than 8 amps, I don't really want to go running that risk without having some way of making sure that it doesn't overheat these thin little cables. And, you know, in that, I would have saved myself a fucking truckload of getting this guy to do it, and I mean, like, seriously, probably fucking close to a week's wage or something like that. Maybe not quite, but close to. So anyway, as I was saying, the power steering rack in this thing is leaking a little bit, but it might be something that I can just live with for the time being, and I'll have to get some fluid to top that up. I don't want to live with that left thing going clonk clonk, and it does need the transmission looked at, and I do need another reservoir, but I'm going to get the reservoir first, and then get this clonk clonk thing in the transmission looked at, yeah, and go from there. But the power steering, oh fuck, it's a nightmare. Like, you get underneath and man, it's packed in, and I'll get him to have a look, because apparently it's only sort of looks to be coming out of one bung, but it sort of might be just about ready to fuck itself anyway. So we'll see how that goes. Being mainly a Ford driver, and the bloody way they build the power steerings for the Fords in Australia, fucking hell, I have had my experience of power steering system failures and fuck-ups. Let me tell you that. There's another feature that I found today. We were looking for the whole ability to swivel the front seats that this thing's supposed to have, and I found something that I didn't expect to find, which I probably should have showed you before. I'm sitting there going, now how come everyone else has cup holders in the back? There's other little ones. Well, there's one in there. All these are sort of stationary ones, except the back ones. I think you can use them moving. I don't know if any of you guys are seeing this. This is the bizarrest thing. This is one of these bizarre features, like having 3 glove boxes and 4 cigarette lighter plugs. Watch this shit. That's right, an actual gas strut. Yeah, a full-blown gas strut. Like what lifts up your tailgate or your bonnet. Well, not the bonnet on this thing, but on some cars. For your little tray. You couldn't bloody make it up. For all the other cheap out things they could an actual flaming gas strut under there. So, what I always asked was, where the friggin' hell's my cup holder? Every other bastard's got a cup holder except the driver. What sort of stupid shit idea is that? So we're fucking around, we're going, well, these seats are supposed to turn around in some models. You can actually get them to face the back. In some ones. I think it's more the Asian ones. I'm fucking around, I'm looking, what's this bullshit down here? Funny looking panel. I don't know if you can see it too well. Your screen's a bit scratched up. So we'll give that a poke. That might be something. I'll be fucked, it's a damn cup holder. I'm not joking. And you've even got your little tab there at the bottom to make sure your little cuppy doesn't go too low, but it's about a bloody ½ inch off the carpet anyway. So your cup Well, at least it doesn't go too low. Oh, honestly, what did it matter? It's half an inch off the damn carpet anyway. You know, I can just barely stick my finger under there. Fucking unbelievable. These, of course, your little spring-loaded things to make sure that it holds your cup in. And it is so covered in bloody dust and fluff, I got some off before, that I don't think this thing has ever actually been used since it was a company car. I don't think the last owner even knew it had one in here, because it's so full of damn dust. So anyway, I might go ahead and wipe that down, and that's your little excitement of today's advancements with the van owned by a real man.